Welcome back, everybody. 10th episode of the Fifth Quarter Collective. We haven't crumbled yet. We're just gaining momentum. And please like, subscribe, and share if you're tuning back in. Guys, how are we doing?
Fantastic.
Doing great. Didn't we get pretty high viewage on the last, speaking of views on the last video?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's second highest for an episode.
That's pretty good. I guess
Needle's moving up, boys.
Needle's moving. We're making progress, guys.
Oh,
Who knew if you talked about football during football season, it could have a slight uptick, huh?
really, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, true.
That
Yeah.
No, we're probably all over the Florida message boards right now.
Yeah.
Somebody's using us as a source.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
What did you guys think this past weekend? I mean, we did have boots on the ground in two of the games, actually, not just one, two.
Yeah.
Oh, Luke, I don't know who wants to take it away.
Luke, start it off. Tell us about how the Colts are looking on the ground.
Good. Well, actually not good, but we won a game. Anyway, so I, made the trip to Indianapolis for a family function, and I wasn't intending on going to the game because tickets were just kind of pricey, but I was with my sister and her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's family, who also is native to Indianapolis. They have season tickets, and they just happened to have an extra ticket. So I was invited to the game. I was chopping it up with Dad. We was having a good old time. He actually does something similar for profession, so that was kind of cool. We could bond over that. But anyway, so we get to the game like an hour early, and we're just kind of seeing. This is the first time I've been to Lucas Oil Stadium. I've been to a Colts game before, but it was in Houston. And if you guys can remember, like 2 years ago, when it was like the only draw of the season, very first game of the season, yeah, it was that one that I went to. So I was already on edge. I was like, I'm not like superstitious, but sort of stitious, I guess. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll bring bad juju to this game because who knows? Honestly, Bears, Colts, who knows what we're gonna get? And I'm just kind of looking around. We were sitting like the lower level in the corner. It was like where, if you've ever seen like on TV, it's like they have like you're looking on the field and they have like floor level seats or whatever. So I got to see Pat, my guy Pat. He was in his suite. I got to see Tyrese Halliburton in the suite. I got to see TJ McConnell. It was like all of the Pacers and everything. It was pretty sweet. And one of the funny things that I saw, so I'm a pretty nosy person. So I'm sitting behind this one lady who's probably like, I don't know, 50 something, got bad eyes because her phone is like, the text on her phone is about this big. And I'm reading it, and it was in some group chat, and she was a Colts fan. And the text that she said that she sent was, Gus Bradley licks donkey balls. And I was like,
respect.
Wow. Okay.
No one's gonna be able to experience this but me, and I'm trying to like not laugh because she would know that I'm reading her text because she knows what she sent. But yeah, but that was kind of just a little aside of the story, kind of the setup. But yeah, kind of the game. It was fun. I got to see the Colts win, pull it out. Anthony Richardson, not good. Like I was basically the lone person in the section just yelling, "We need Flacco! We need Flacco!" Like big time because
you were everyone's hero.
Yeah, and
they don't know it yet.
They don't. They need to know it, but unfortunately, our guy Anthony Richardson's only played like 8. He started like 8 or 9 games out of high school, so who knows if we're going to commit to Joe Flacco just yet, but. Morale is, I wouldn't say it's high because we still look flawed, very flawed. If Anthony Richardson, had any accuracy, he would actually have more interceptions. But the fact that he throws a ball over someone's head about this high, like we can't have it, man. But yeah, I had a good time in Indy. It's always fun to, get a W. So
was the roof closed or open?
The roof was closed. No, it was very closed. It was rainy that day. I would have killed for it to be open. I saw the place where the AFC finalist banner was, the infamous AFC finalist banner. So that was fun. I got to see all the weird quirks of Lucas Oil. So,
Dude,
but Bo, you also NFL game this weekend.
Yes. Before I started this tangent, can you guys hear anything in my apartment? I'm in Washington. Okay, cut that out. Yes, I was boots on the ground in Tennessee as the Packers came to town this past weekend, and Malik Willis looks like a star QB beating his former team that just traded him and handled it very much with class. I think the week prior they asked him about like how he felt with Tennessee, and he just said something like, "Well, Miss Amy, who's the GM, gave me an opportunity to play here." So, I mean, you can only be happy with that. And then first pass to Watson, I mean, like beautiful pass, back shoulder, right in front of me, and then along with that, Malik Willis also ran in the first touchdown right in front of me. So great. It's great to be a Packer fan, just to say the least. Malik Willis has basically done a phenomenal job being the backup. I think we got our backup now for the next few years. And on top of that, Titans fans are at the bottom of the barrel. They hate Will Levis already. They basically have said they need to fire everybody and just start from the ground up. So as Titans fans are not doing too hot. Obviously, you just traded your backup for a 7th-round pick and then lost to your backup, or excuse me, your third string, technically. So that's always a very tough look for the Titans fans. The good thing was when I went to the game, I was like corner of the end zone, and I wore blue because I didn't have any Packer gear. So I was sitting next to people, and they thought I was a Titans fan, and I was like, well, I'm actually from Wisconsin. They're like, oh, you're not too rambunctious. So I'm like, no, I usually keep it together. And it was just it was like 90-ish, some cloud coverage at times, some not. You're soaking in sweat when it's no clouds, but great time. And it was fun. It was really fun going to Nissan Stadium. It's a good time. Go Pack Go. Obviously took care of business, so it's fantastic.
you got to see the Malik Willis live in action. Performed exactly how we thought he would. I wonder if we see a scenario where, I don't know, maybe the Colts trade Anthony Richardson for Malik Willis one of these days. Give it a few years. You never know.
Flacco's still on the team. Let's not be.
Let's talk about a great game, though. LaFleur called a fantastic game. He kept the place very good. Malik didn't shoot himself in the foot. I think he only had 2 incompletions the whole game. Obviously, we knew what we were doing. It was just phenomenal play calling from the Packers.
What a shame. The Titans are just terrible. Oh man,
Dude, you should hear the people here are like delusional, completely delusional. They're already out on Levis. They're like, we should maybe even fire our head coach. Like, dude, it's 3 games in. Like, let's calm down. Let's pump the brakes. But they all complain. They're like, we have the worst O line. And I was like, well, the defense isn't looking any better. So you basically across the board can just pick where you want to start fixing it, and that's where you should start. The big debate is if Levis is the guy or if he isn't. What do they do? Do they just try to tank for another QB, just draft a new one? Does Shador come to Nashville? Do they try to go for Ewers? I think that sounds way more exciting than doing whatever else they're going to do. But these are all topics I've talked about with Titans fans. One guy said they're, quote, a poverty franchise. So they're not too happy here.
I don't even think you need to tank for any of those quarterbacks. I think your team is just so bad that you're going to tank without tanking.
Yeah. Do they look
At
bad?
least, I mean, look at the bright side, Nashville, Tennessee fans. You're not Carolina.
Yeah, you got that right.
So that's big for
Maybe
them.
Would you rather have Red Rocket Andy Dalton at the helm now?
Red
Oh
Rocket.
yeah, but Andy Dalton's not going to give you the years you need as your starting quarterback.
how consistent will he be too? He's had a hot game. Can he do it week after week after week, or even some weeks? Honestly, he doesn't need to be good every week. I mean, he does, but expectations already so low.
The thing with the Titans, they're in a horrible spot where they have like some guys who are really good that are old, that they've paid too much, and then like the new guys aren't panning out how they want it to. So they're really kind of stuck. Like they still have D Hop, who could ball out, in my opinion. Ridley, I believe, is 29. Outside of that, on the offensive side, Pollard's 27, I believe. I kind of feel like they kind of went all in for a bit of it, and now it just doesn't look good. Like this is definitely a rebuilding year, but this was like supposed to be a building block, and it's just completely fallen off.
Yeah, I don't know who you. I mean, you give Levis the rest of the season, obviously, but I don't. I'm trying to think of like free agents that might be up. I don't know if. I feel like you just let them ride it out. I don't think they're going to do something crazy and like trade for Bryce Young's trade value. I just don't even think is there. I don't know. I would expect the Dolphins to give Tannehill a ring, but I don't know what Tennessee the answer is. I think, like you're saying, Bo, they're just in a bad spot.
Yeah, in a very bad spot.
Do you think this all stems from when they fired Vrabel last year?
Yes. If Vrabel, we had this argument today at work. If Vrabel's there, they could be 3-0. Vrabel's there. The first 2 games they really lost because of Levis doing just dumb shit, to be completely honest. Excuse my French.
When they lost to Chicago week 1, that was pathetic.
Pathetic.
That might have been the most pathetic loss in like the last 5 years of National Football League history.
Well, until they played the Packers. They lost to their backup QB. They traded for a 7th-round draft pick.
No, blowing a 16-point lead and the other team having no offensive touchdowns.
I would agree.
It's basically like you're watching the Orioles. Craig Kimbrell comes in, and you know the game's over before it starts.
I don't know who Craig Kimbrell is anymore. He doesn't pitch for the Orioles. His ass was released as the time of taping Tuesday. He was released this morning.
How many days off your life do you think he's shaved?
We don't, and we'll talk Oriole baseball come playoff time. But I would just give Jake and Luke phone calls during the day of when the Orioles would have a day game on a Tuesday and Wednesday, and he would blow a save. It would ruin the rest of my day. It shouldn't, but it does. But now it's no more. He's not there. He won't be on the playoff roster. He won't be on the roster.
Now you
No,
yeah.
no more
What's it going to be now?
Nope. Nope, no more scapegoats. We are fine. They're up 5-3 on the Yankees, top of the 9th right now, 1 out.
Hey, that's what friends are for, Coleman. Getting each other through tough times. And
that's right. But you know what's not in a tough time right now? The Ravens. Big win over Dallas. I was not there. I was not boots on the ground unlike the other 2. Even though I live in the same state. But big win for the Ravens. Dominant performance outside of the 4th quarter where they kind of looked like they gave up. But I think the Ravens will be fine. Like I said last week, they outgained Kansas City. They outgained Vegas. And they outgained Dallas. I think they'll be fine. But the real question is, what do you do in Dallas? You lose. You got blown out by the Saints week 2 at home. You get demolished by the Ravens week 3, even though the score sheet doesn't say it. What do you do if you're Dallas? What do you got to look forward to? America's team.
I think you just look forward to the draft, and they're in a tough spot. They have CeeDee Lamb. Outside of that, I've been on the Jalen Tolbert train for a while. He's still catching touchdowns, but it looks rough. I'm wondering if some guys are making business decisions like Antonio Pierce was calling out some of his players in Las Vegas. I don't know if you guys saw that interview, but you just questioned some of the effort out there, I guess. But yeah, I don't think there's a quick fix for Dallas, and certainly not the start that they expected. Yeah, I don't know. Are they going to regret extending Dak?
I think Dak is still a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. I think he's better than half the league.
Is he better than Will Levis?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty easy. I think what Dallas needs to hope for is just for Jerry Jones to move on. That'll never happen, but that's the reason why they're losing. Partially. Obviously, talent is an issue, but I think Jerry Jones is they're not winning any games or any championships, should I say.
We were talking about the start of the season. I put this out there in a Twitter poll, but I did want to get everybody's thoughts here live. Okay, so which team has had the most surprising start so far to this year? Okay, Vikings, they're 3-0. They lose their draft pick. Darnold's revived. Just looking way better than I think anybody expected. Bengals 0-3. I think everybody thought with Burrow coming back healthy that certainly would be the case. Saints start 2-1 and really have looked pretty serviceable compared to what a lot of the preseason pundits were saying. And then the 2 I had grouped together too is Rams and Niners 1-2 start. Obviously, Rams injury burden there and no CMC in San Francisco, but want to just get your guys' thoughts on what's most surprising to you out of those teams.
I'll start it off. Definitely think Vikings. Vikings with Sam Darnold at the helm. shout out Kevin O'Connell for first off just having a great offensive scheme, but their defense is also just really played very well. The way they made Stroud look when they won, I believe it was 7-21. I believe this past weekend, maybe more, but they really shut him down, and that's a high-powered offense, like a very high-powered offense. And the fact that Darnold is basically looking like a top half of the league QB right now, like slinging it after he's gone, he's been a journeyman his whole career. Just hats off to them. I think they look really good. Obviously, McCarthy's healing for next year, but just interesting to see. I thought they were just going to be, below average at best. This could be a rebuilding year, maybe get a new draft pick, but they look good. They look really, really good. So hats off to the Vikings.
I think
I would definitely agree with Bo. I was the first to vote on your Twitter poll. Saw it today, like 2 minutes after it came up. But no, I would agree. They faced a somewhat like two playoff teams, the 49ers at home and then Houston at home. They're both quality playoff teams. So the fact that they're getting wins, and yeah, San Francisco's 1-2, but whatever. They'll find their way back, just like the Ravens will. And then, yeah, like Bo said, they made CJ Stroud look bad. So definitely the Vikings, shocking 3-0 start. And I don't think anyone would have predicted them top of the NFC North with Detroit and Green Bay. So good for Minnesota, good for Sam Darnold.
it is good for Minnesota, but I think the Saints. I think the Saints have really kind of turned it around. I don't know what exactly they did. It doesn't seem like they have a completely different roster. Derek Carr's still, quarterback. You got Alvin Kamara and stuff. But the fact that there's what is it 3? Are they 3-0 or 2-1?
2-1.
2-1. Still such a great start to the season. I mean, I live in a predominantly big Saints market, and the morale at the beginning of the season pretty low. But yeah, so anytime you're exceeding expectations, it's certainly like, okay, they must be doing something right. Now let's just see if they can continue it throughout the season, and maybe it's just not one of those like fluky like roller coaster type seasons. So
Yeah, so true. Olave's playing really good. I think people for like the past 2 years have been saying that Kamara's gonna eventually hit that like downhill slide. Bo, all credit to you, has not been buying into that at all, and has said he's still at the top of his game, which clearly he is. And Saints have been incredible. I will say one of the more surprising teams there for me is just the Bengals. You look at the offseason with all the talk about the offensive line being upgraded and they're going to protect Burrow. I was really thinking about it a bit more, though. Chase got going and he was more involved, but I'm wondering how much him not being involved and him holding out kind of impacted some of this stuff. But just some surprising starts. And yeah, hats off to Sam Darnold. He had it in him, but I don't know. I think, does it say more about the Vikings organization or the Jets organization for them missing or them building him up? I don't know. I think if you're the Vikings, you got to be very pumped with what he's producing. And shout out to Aaron Jones, too. Another old running back that people were writing off. Been playing fantastic so far. And he's going to get his revenge game here, as it might be even this weekend against the Packers. So excited to see how that works out there, too.
My question to everyone is, do you think the Bengals are playing so poorly because Joe Burrow started to dress like Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah, dude, what's up with these people dressing horrendously? Sorry, go ahead, Coleman. Didn't mean to interrupt.
bleaching their hair.
No. I think there's some guys that can pull it off, like Russell Westbrook. Some guys can't. Joe Burrow is one of those guys that can't pull that off. Never should.
Whatever happened just to wear suits,
Yeah, right. Seriously, let's just go back to the way it was.
Right.
Let's not bleach our hair. Okay. Like, that's where I have the biggest problem. His dress, like, I couldn't care how he dresses, honestly. But the fact that he bleached his hair and he shaved his head, like, he had a great head of lettuce, okay? Like, why? Why ruin something like that?
Definitely gives off Eminem vibes.
That's a good way to put it.
Good. That's a good. I didn't think about that. That's good. No,
But he's not Eminem. That's the only thing. He's not Eminem. But
he's the real Slim Shady.
Yeah, the Bengals
Yep.
are looking pretty shady right now. They're not looking good.
Uh,
One thing I wanted to put out there about the Bills Jaguars game. Jags are 0-3. People are up in arms about Lawrence not playing that well, but there was a crazy stat that just came out about Josh Allen versus man coverage against the Jaguars the past 2 years versus yesterday. So they ran, I believe it was like 80% of zone and then 78% of zone versus Josh Allen when they played him the past 2 years. 2021 or 2022 it might have been. And I think they won both those games. And then yesterday they barely played zone, and Burrow obviously torched him up. But if you look at his touchdown ratio, it's like versus man to man, I believe I don't know, it's like 2 interceptions and like 30 touchdowns. And then if you go to when he's versus zone, it's like 29 touchdowns and 27 interceptions. It's a 42 touchdown to 4 interception flip when they do that. So it's a ginormous swing. And it's like, how do we find that out? And the coaching staff for the Jaguars don't have that in the game plan. They looked horrible. They looked absolutely horrible. Now, if Mac Jones gets to start down in Florida, I would be a fan of that. That'd be kind of cool. But they did just pay Lawrence $275 million. So another team that's in the pickle with what did they do? Do you guys think it's the coaching, or do you think that Lawrence is actually just washed?
I was looking at that. I did a deep breakdown, and I compared the first 3 years of Lawrence to Jared Goff and Baker. And when I was thinking through it, a bit different. Where that first year, Jaguars were certainly rebuilding. You had the Urban Meyer debacle, but I think you have to ask yourself, like, at what point is that no longer like the reason why maybe his growth was stunted, right? I think you've had Doug Peterson, more cohesive locker room. And I think the thing with him, which a lot of these guys, it's hard. It's you have all of this draft hype around you, and best quarterback since Andrew Luck, sure thing, big, easiest bet you could make as a team, and he has not been playing up to those franchise levels. The NBA player comp, when I was really thinking through it for draft pedigree and all, I would compare Trevor Lawrence to Andrew Wiggins right now.
Wow.
I think slow start, not living up to expectations. I threw out the question, like, does Trevor Lawrence eventually, they just gave him a big deal, so it's not happening this year, next year, maybe that third or fourth year. Does he need a second home, a different team to kind of find his footing, and maybe a different system even? I'll be interested to see if we look back in 2031 and if Lawrence is still the guy or not. I don't know.
Well, there was a rumor that Doug Peterson said, I don't know if he's contemplating, but the QB position is like open. He did say that, I think, today. So if he does get benched, where do they ship him off? Does anybody even take him because of his contract? Because he's one of the highest paid QBs, I believe, in the NFL. And I think that's a huge red flag if you're paying this guy all this money and it's 3 games in. The coach is already like, I don't even know if we can have this guy as the QB. But if Mac Jones makes a comeback, it would be kind of cool. Big fan of Mac Jones on the field, to say the least. So
any big money quarterback just screams going to the Colts and it not working out, and then we just end up paying him off. That just screams it, and I hate that. I'm so glad we have a terrible quarterback. No, they would never do it in division, but dang, it just screams Trevor Lawrence to the Colts.
A couple thoughts I had is, one, love talking AFC South football tonight with you guys.
I know, trash football.
It's like the number one WNBA podcast that we were over the summer. Might be the number one AFC South podcast. So that's big. Two, but we've talked a lot tonight about week 3, week 2. No, we were in week 3. Talked a lot about week 3 of hey, should they move off of this? Should I already look forward to the draft? Gentlemen, it's week 3. And maybe that's just us, overreaction Tuesday, finally dissecting the week of football that we all just watched. And yeah, they're not good. They had a poor week, or they had a poor start to the season. But why are we writing teams off so early? Yes, there are teams you can write off. Carolina is one of them. You can. You can
Red
write,
Rocket, baby.
Well, that's
Nah,
exactly why we're writing them off. The Titans aren't going to make a push.
you can write them off. The fact that you bench Bryce Young means that you can write them off, and they've already given up. But Tennessee hasn't given up with Will Levis. But I think my point is are we at the point in the NFL to where we're really only judging these guys and judging these teams off of 2-3 weeks of action? That like, hey, we're already looking for the draft. Like we're already going to move off Trevor Lawrence, who we gave $200-something million to. The Browns have not moved off of Deshaun Watson. He sucks. They pay him $600 million to lose to the damn Giants at home. So I think we have to take a step back, evaluate. Yeah, you went on the road and you played Buffalo. Not an easy place to go to. Yeah, you got shit kicked in. That's all right. You move back and you go on to the next week with your multi-million-dollar quarterback who's number one pick of the draft. Teams would be lining up for Trevor Lawrence, no matter what his contract is. Tennessee would be lining up for him. Carolina would be lining up for him. The Giants would be lining up for him. The Jets will once Aaron Rodgers retires. The Vikings would have been lining up for him right now. And they already have their young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy who's hurt, and Sam Darnold. So guys like that, I think we should be hesitant saying, oh, you should move off of him, or like, hey, we should bench him. If you bench him, what does that do to his confidence? Because he's still a young quarterback. So where your head coach has lost trust in you, or it could light a fire under his ass. It's one or the other. But I think it's the part of the media that I don't think we should get into is the overreactions of like, let's bench a guy after 3 weeks already. Let's look forward to the draft. Those are my thoughts.
I think he's protected with the contract. Like I think benching would be absurd.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think if he does get dealt, it'd be 3 years down the road. Obviously, you can't predict that at all. But it's just hard to live up to some of those draft grades coming out. And yes, I have my big board ready. I'm shocked you don't, Coleman. You should always be looking forward to the draft. So get on that.
It's a last thing on my mind right now.
Thank God his coach is not throwing him under the bus and his backup under the bus.
Any other thoughts from the games? I know we've been talking a lot of NFL. Any college thoughts or anything like that either?
If we want to pivot over to college, let's take a stroll. Two things. First off, looked at the Heisman odds today. We're closing NFL. Anybody have any other comments for NFL? No? Everybody good? Heisman odds today. Number one, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss, 550, plus 550. Started off plus 2,000. He's the front runner for Heisman this week. But I really wanted to talk about Colorado. And obviously, they had quite the pretty big win against, I believe it was Colorado State? No, Baylor, excuse me. Thank you. Baylor. Do a little scramble play, rolls out, guy drops it at like the 3-yard line, 1 second left on the clock, rolls out again, throws a touchdown, go to OT. And then they got to stop, I believe. The guy fumbled. Baylor fumbled on the goal line as he was running into the end zone. It fell out of the back of the end zone. They won the game. But Coleman brought this up earlier in the week. Is Travis Hunter the most gifted and athletic player easily in college football? But is he like a generational talent? Do you guys think that? And if so, when he goes to the NFL, do you think he should play DB or wideout?
I think the production, like you can't argue, he's doing something that very, very, very few people have ever done. And playing wideout or corner, I honestly think he's probably better out at wide receiver with some of the production that I've seen and his build. What a luxury to have those opportunities to be fitting into different schemes, or how having different coaches see you and how they could fit you into their offense or defense there. I've seen some people, I don't think it's true, lining him up for Heisman talks. I just don't think Colorado will do well enough for him to be like a serious contender too.
Luke, what do you think?
Well, I think as far as like position for the NFL, like he's such a great player, but I think he's better off probably going wide receiver. I'm a big get paid, and that position you're going to be making a lot more than you are playing defense. So that's the only reason I would choose him being a wide receiver. Obviously, he's skilled at that position too, so it's not going to be like some out of the blue thing. But yeah, no, definitely generational talent. I don't know if he's the best player ever in college football, like ever. I think there's like Cam Newton. He's kind of up there in my mind. He's Obviously, it's hard to compare, I think, just because Travis Hunter is playing two positions and the amount of reps is just absurd. Like his motor and like his endurance is insane. Like, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Coleman?
Couple things I'd like to say is one, before I talk about Travis Hunter, is just that game in general. I watched that game beginning to end. That was pathetic from Baylor. Bo didn't do it justice. They had 1 second left on the goddamn 50-yard line. Hail Mary, the defender slips. Dave Aranda, the Baylor head coach, calls that formation victory cigar. No. Losers. They give up that touchdown with 1 second left, mind you. Literally 1 second on the clock, which is pathetic. Then in overtime, Colorado goes down, scores. Baylor, quarterback runs 15 yards, barely should have scored, but stopped at the 1 yard line. Then they fumble into the goal, into the goal line, goes out for a touchback, and they lose the game. They're up 7 with 1 fucking second left at the end of regulation. How do you not win that game? And yes, some of us are salty. No, I'm not a Colorado fan. I'm damn sure not a Baylor fan, but some of us are salty because they had money on that game. And that's okay. But that also got me to my point. And really the reasoning for my question is Travis Hunter was the one who actually caused that fumble at the goal line. Travis Hunter had some unreal catches in the second half of that game. He did not have a huge impact in the first half. The second half of that game, I think the kid has magnets on his fucking fingers for the football. Some of the catches he makes this year, last year, even at Jackson State are unreal. And the fact that he's doing this on the offensive end and the defensive side of the football, that he's playing 120 plus snaps a game is actually unreal to me. And the fact that they really don't throw to his area when he's in coverage because they know he's so freakishly athletic and so good at that cornerback position. That I don't remember the last person I've seen, maybe Deion Sanders, his coach, was the last person to be this athletic and play both sides of the ball like that. But he really is. I think impact-wise on football, he's not going to go down as the most impactful player. But just pure raw athleticism and talent and football IQ on both sides to play at that high of a level, and the impact that he has on his team, even though his team's not that good, the fact that he can do it all and has that impact to make these game-winning catches. He didn't make the game-winning catch, but still have those game-winning impact plays, and yet pretty much win the game for Colorado is kind of unreal. It makes him a special, special talent that I don't think we'll see for a long, long time after this. But to answer your question, I think he'd best be a receiver. I'm not going to beat a dead horse to make more money. I love him to play both sides of the ball. I don't know how practical that is in the NFL in this day and age. But yeah, go get your money. Go be a receiver. Go have some fun. Super talented player.
I'm loving the player comps so far. Oh, he already brought up Andrew Wiggins and weaved him in here. Travis Hunter, is he Otani-ish, right? Doing it all. Very impactful for his team. I mean, I don't know.
Shocked they haven't let him play quarterback yet.
Yeah.
Right. The Otani comp, you just have to stay healthy, right? Like, that you seriously just have to stay healthy. Otherwise, it's not going to be any good for you in the long run. So,
yeah. And I think I was going to say, I wonder like if all these extra plays will hurt his durability going forward. It's not like he's a running back. He's corner and wide receiver. He's not getting destroyed every play. So I don't think so. But yeah, just to think about like the conditioning from going to running routes to then covering other top end wide receivers, not like slot 2-3 guys, number one wide receivers on each team, unfrickin' real. So yeah, incredible. I don't think he's a serious contender for Heisman though. I think I'm still leaning on.
I think he should be, but he's not going to be because he plays for Colorado.
Yeah, that's it. He should be as a standalone because of Colorado. No.
Yeah,
completely agree. Moving forward with college
they're
football,
not going to give the Heisman to a guy who. Yeah, they're not going to give the Heisman to a guy who finishes on a 6-6, 7-5 team.
Yeah, that's fair. It's completely
or 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
Completely fair.
But hey, it's only going into week 5, so things could change, you know.
Are they 3-1?
Yeah, the Heisman odds I can't even take seriously at this point in time. We haven't even gotten into conference play. Jackson Dart's played pathetic. We've played awful competition. No offense to Wake, but bad. The fact that we haven't played a really good or a half decent Power 4 team yet, and he's still leading, and he's the leader of the Heisman race. We can't take these rankings and value seriously unless we're betting on this right now.
Which we could be. I mean, we could. I mean, just saying.
We could be.
Might be so.
We could be, yeah, and you can be. Again, not gambling advice, but I don't take the Heisman odds super seriously just yet.
Fair enough. How do you guys speak? Go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
No, I was just looking at scores. Bo, you can go right ahead. Just in case anybody wanted the update, UMass Minutemen beat Wagner Seahawks 34-10. Just throwing that in there. But we're not.
Iowa crushed Minnesota as well. I don't remember the last time Iowa scored over 30 points in a Big Ten game, so that was big.
Anybody watch Marshall, Ohio State like I did? Marshall was walking down the field that first drive. They're up 7-zip. I was like, whoa, look at Marshall. And does Marshall have Metcalf's younger brother? Is that right? No, maybe. I saw Metcalf out there playing in the slot, so I'm not sure. But anywho,
I wanted. Well, go ahead, Bo. You had something.
Okay.
Real quick before we move to next week. No, two games that I just wanted to touch on. USC, Michigan. Anybody have any thoughts about that? Real quick, Vanderbilt, Mizzou going into OT. Vandy's does seem like a bit of a different program. Like they have a bit more of an edge. That new transfer quarterback's tough as nails, and I'm not trying to pump them up too much, but amazing. Got to be an amazing, encouraging game for them just to take it to OT by Mizzou, who many people thought were one of the dark horses among the SEC too. So that was a game that I thought was phenomenal, and I think we all were tuning in because it delayed the start of the Ole Miss game on TV too. But just wanted to throw those two out before we moved on.
No, I had a question actually. Speaking of Vanderbilt, because they're actually, they were the worst team forever, and they still might be the worst team. I don't know. But my question to you guys is Mississippi State the worst SEC football team this year?
100%. Not even a question. If you say another team, you're wrong.
Yeah. Vanderbilt seems like they're a completely different team. Like it's kind of absurd.
Yeah. Vanderbilt lost on the road to Georgia State. Bad loss. Pathetic loss. Going on the road, losing to a Sun Belt team. But they beat Virginia Tech, who had a lot of preseason hype around them. And they took Mizzou. And I want to touch on the Mizzou in a second and do a whole Mizzou segment. But Mississippi State looked bad. I mean, they got crushed by Toledo at home. Against Florida, they looked bad. They're the doormat of the SEC now. Good for Clark Lee. Good for Vanderbilt. Good for Nashville. They still have a crap stadium. They still have no fans or minimal fan base. But their football team's not the worst in the SEC anymore.
But they're renovating their stadium. It's supposed to be amazing.
Good. They can renovate it for all the away fans that travel there.
Maybe their student body will start to show up to games. All the doctors and the lawyers and all the smart people, they can take a break for once,
It's just
Coleman,
being a
what's your
Vandy's
thoughts?
campus. It just doesn't look like it's fun, Like it just looks so academic. It just looks like they're missing out on like the fun parts, like enjoying it all. Like they're so like book driven, which is good. We need people like that. I mean, Ole Miss obviously had a great balance of a lot of fun, and sports are obviously a huge culture. So I mean, to each their own. Rather go to Ole Miss, put it that way.
Jay Cutler, probably the most surprising Vanderbilt grad. When I think back to that's always shocking to me.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of another one. Was Jordan Rogers? He's on TV now.
Yeah,
Jordan Rogers, baby. Yeah.
it's a good one.
Coleman, what's your Mizzou take? Break that down.
I really liked Mizzou at the beginning of this season, and I still do. They have a very favorable schedule. I want to say their two toughest remaining games are at A&M and then at Alabama, so they could split there. But I was very high on Mizzou at the beginning of the season. However, they have not looked good, and I'm not just talking about the Vandy game. A very underrated game that happened last week, which was overshadowed, was Boston College at Mizzou. The 11 a.m. slot on SEC Network. 11:45, I'm sorry, it was an odd start time. Forgive me for those listeners who are big fans of Mizzou and BC. They struggled in the first half of that game. Yeah, Boston College, it was ranked at the time 24th and just went on the road and beat Florida State. But they really struggled with Boston College at home, who yet still has a dynamic quarterback, but they did not play well. They were down in the first half. They were down in the first quarter, and they battled back to beat Boston College. That really worried me. And then almost losing to Vanderbilt when you're preseason top 6, top 7, it's very worrisome. The fact that you're scathing by, from an SEC standard, a below average team, and then at Boston College, we're in the SEC, an average team.
Right.
Little bit weary for Mizzou. Granted, they do have an easier schedule, like I said, but that's definitely something to look out for.
Completely agree. Big matchup this week. If we can move forward, who are you guys taking? We got Georgia versus Bama in Tuscaloosa. I'm rocking with the Tide. Roll Tide. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I was going to say with this segment, what I think we should do too is I can do it. I know people had some complaints about the games I was selecting, but we should also do our picks for spreads, like betting picks for college football for some of these games. Mm-hmm. So let me just pull that up real quick.
Thoughts on Tennessee or Oklahoma? Anyone? Before we move on to next week?
Right here. I think this solidifies that Nico is definitely QB1 and actually the guy. Big concerns being a young QB playing in a hostile environment for his real first start, being the guy. And obviously Norman, Oklahoma is a tough place to play. Oklahoma didn't look as good as I thought they would, but Nico played very well. He hit that post route, I believe, for a 50, 60-yard touchdown. Tennessee looks good. That running back for Tennessee as well, Sampson, I think is underrated. And Tennessee's defense is solid. They look like a top-tier SEC team across the board. So watch out for Rocky Top and all the Vols fans here. You should be excited. I think it's going to be very good. They play Bama at home in a month, so that's going to be a fantastic game as well.
I got this pulled up finally here. Good breakdown too, Bo. I think Nico, it's going to take me the whole season to pronounce his last name.
I think this game is, to be fair though, I think this game is more telling in Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold's not, again, we're giving up on young quarterbacks too early.
Week 3.
College is different than the professional rank. These guys are only here for 3 years. If they want to go to the NFL, maybe 5 years. Or if you're watching Utah, Oklahoma State, fucking 8 years, depending on who you watch. But I think this is really telling of Oklahoma that you benched Jackson Arnold, who looked horrific in the first half, for your 5-star backup, whatever his name, Michael Hawkins. They didn't look great. They looked bad against Tennessee, but they held that offense to 25 points, which is big in the grand scheme of things. But they have a rough schedule. And if they're starting a true freshman quarterback going on the road or playing Alabama, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, and Mizzou, that's 5 top 8 teams, top 7 teams, and then LSU, or 4 top 7 teams and then LSU. That's a tough schedule for a true freshman quarterback who's not played at all. Hey, how about it? Go for it. We'll throw you out in that conference play. You get no warm up.
Yeah, welcome to the SEC.
Yeah, right. That's tough.
As far as mechanics go, though, I think he's one of the best in college football. I've just been watching him a lot. Because obviously he's a 5-star recruit. He had a lot of hype coming out of high school. I think he's the real deal. I think when he comes to get drafted, he'll probably be the number 1 or 2 of his class. I think him and Arch will be in the same draft class. So, obviously Manning, elite name, and him just doing his thing.
He's fun battle to watch year after year. Texas, Oklahoma, and the Red River rivalry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just watch out for those two. And Jake, touching on USC Michigan, surprised USC got stomped that bad. Michigan's farthest pass completed was 9 yards. So welcome to the Big Ten. And obviously Michigan just ran all over them. I was surprised, though, I had USC winning that game.
Another one that may be overlooked because it was a Friday game, but Illinois with a good win over Nebraska.
Dude, I knew it.
Called that one.
Yep. Yeah, I knew that all along. Any dude named Luke, I'm pulling for.
I'm taking notes this week on who I think we do 5 college games, 5 NFL games to keep it so it's not too scattered.
Sure.
Picks. Sure. And then we can keep track of that pretty easily. But I think Bama, Georgia. I'm looking at this here. It's Georgia at Alabama. Georgia's 2-point favorites. Who does everybody have?
Roll Tide roll +2.
Well, consider I think last week I picked Georgia. I got to stick with Georgia.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
No. Can we do no half? Can we do the half points and no pushes? Is that what you're saying?
No, that wasn't it. But I guess that's a valid concern. Yeah. No full
I
points.
hate that.
Half points only. Yes. That I didn't think about that, but yes, that's one of my valid points. For those of you watching, I don't know what day you're watching this on. We're recording this on a Tuesday night. Games are played on Saturdays. Take my picks with a grain of salt. If we want, we can record a clip of this. Redo this maybe Friday night, Thursday night, as we get closer so I can see where the money is going, where the sharp money is going, if we're actually going to give out, again, not gambling advice. The story of this is my girlfriend. She likes to bet on the NFL. Or fiance, I'm sorry. Apologize. She likes to watch Barstool Sports Advisors on the weekends to get her advice. She loves Stu Feiner. Shout out, Stu. Shout out, Mulch is here. But they record their show on Wednesday. He asked where the sharp money is. Can they record the show on Sunday? No, they cannot. But you know who can? We can. So take my picks with a grain of salt, but I'm going to take Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
All right. I'm also going Bama, guys. I love Milroe. I think it's going to be one hell of a game. That's one I'm not missing. Everybody's tuning in. If anybody else has games they want to throw out there too, go for it. I'm scrolling through. I don't want to miss pick here. Like
I got one.
There's some strong criticism.
We'll be boots on the ground this upcoming weekend back at Ole Miss. Ole Miss minus 17.5, I believe, the last time I checked the line, versus Kentucky. First conference play. The biggest thing is Kentucky almost beat Georgia, I believe, 13-12 in Lexington. But, side note, Kentucky's QB was also a 3-year backup at Georgia. The starting linebacker, I believe, for Kentucky is also a 3-year starter. They're vets. I don't think they're going to get razzled by being at the Vaught. But it's our first home game. I'm still going to go with Ole Miss, given we've won every game by, I believe, 4 touchdowns, except Wake Forest. Potty Toddy, Roll Tide. Those are the 2 picks I got so far. Minus 17.5, Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio, who's big in the college basketball, naturally, it's Kentucky, but also a very well-known name in the college basketball universe, called out Ole Miss fans. And on his radio show, Kentucky Sports Radio, saying they arrive late to games. It's not a passionate fan base, and they like to. There's one other thing. Oh, that they're not dedicated or something like that. I don't think Ole Miss fans are like Miami Heat fans. They'll be there at 11 a.m. They're going to stripe the Vaught. They're going to win. They're going to cover. And I think Ole Miss fans and I think the Ole Miss team is actually very excited to play some real competition. So I think they come out and roll.
Yeah. He might not be counting in the 20,000 drunk people in the Grove that don't make it into the stadium, which could be half the battle. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, let him talk Mormon Mark. They can go back to basketball season. So stick to hoops. Stick to Mormon Mark.
I will go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'm slamming Ole Miss. No surprise.
Yeah, I think I'm slamming Ole Miss too. I will also say I don't know if he's just recency bias. Yes, we haven't had a great history over the years of people showing up. But the last couple of home games have been nobody. So if that's what they're basing it off of, dude, yeah, I would be leaving at halftime too if it was 30-point deficit at least.
Yeah, man, you got to make it to the library. I mean, come on. Yeah. All right, Jake, go ahead with your picks you're looking at.
I got a few other interesting ones that I think will be interesting games. They're not too far out there like UMass Wagner, but we have Wisconsin USC.
That's such a homer pick.
We can do homer picks. It's okay.
The line. Hold on, we're skipping this because the line started at 4.5. Now it's 16. Obviously, Badgers lost their quarterback, so bad one.
Where are you getting your lines from? 4.5.
We're switching.
Vegas Insider's where I use my lines, just so you know. That's where I get lines.
Let's see. We have Oklahoma State, Kansas State.
I love this game. Big 12, America's Conference. True football is played in the Big 12. No one knows who's going to win the conference. If you look preseason odds, every single conference, there's 3, maybe 4 teams. Or if you look at the Big Ten case, there's 2 teams who has actually half decent odds. You look at the Big 12, there might have been 6, 7, or 8 teams that have a realistic possibility of winning the Big 12. Every week matters the Big 12. Kansas State coming in off a horrendous loss to BYU. Stayed up late and watched that. Bet on BYU. 3-0 this season so far with BYU. Ridden them every week. And they looked horrendous in Provo. And then Oklahoma State, whose running game is non-existent with Ollie Gordon. Only put up 19 at home to Utah. And their backup quarterback, not even Cam Rising. I really, really like Kansas State to come back. They've already shown that they can win at home. They beat a good Arizona team at home Friday night 2 weeks ago. Oklahoma State doesn't have the offense to put up with Kansas State. Provo's a tough place to play. BYU is an awkward stadium to go to. Awkward fan base. So I expect if a new team definitely has hurdles there, but I really like them at home against Oklahoma State.
I would also piggyback on that. I think you look at who I think most people think will eventually be the number 1 running back off the board, and Ollie Gordon. Phenomenal talent. But I'm going to go Kansas State here, -4.5.
Agree. I'm on board. I don't watch a ton Big 12 football, but Kansas State did look pretty good except the BYU game. It's kind of piggyback, going off both of your research. Sure, I'll join the train.
I think I'm jumping off the train. I know very little about these teams, but since all 3 of you went on it, I've been zigging and zagging. I think I'm going to have to go with Oklahoma State and fighting Gundy. So, yeah.
I love that. I think we have an interesting SEC matchup here too that I was just seeing. We have Arkansas A&M. Do you guys like that as a pick or no?
Sure.
Yeah.
Usually it's pretty good.
A&M's 4-point favorites here.
No shot. Is it at A&M?
At
in
A&M.
Dallas.
Oh, in Dallas.
Jerry World.
I'll take Arkansas. Arkansas, yeah, I'll take Arkansas. We'll see what happens. That's really just a gut feeling bet. Don't know why I really went there.
That's all right.
That's how I felt.
I don't know. I think I'll probably choose the Hogs too there, Bo. Coming off a great win off of a great Auburn team, having all kinds of just nutty things going on within their program. But let's take that momentum on to this week against Texas A&M. Call the Hogs, baby.
I'm gonna go with the Aggies. Really, just because I'm not that I've studied both these teams a whole lot, but Aggies in Texas, I hate the Hogs, so we're gonna go A&M.
I actually have studied both of these teams. Arkansas-Auburn was a disgusting game to watch last week. I watched it in full, and then I fell asleep in the fourth quarter, so I didn't watch it in full because it was so disgusting. I watched that in addition to Michigan USC, so don't call me a sicko for watching that. That was a disgusting game. They looked awful. Auburn looked awful. That game was filled with turnovers, and neither of those teams could have beaten Wagner unless they were playing themselves. So they looked bad. I think they found something in Marcel Reed, their backup quarterback who started at Florida. Yeah, they looked awful. Again, awful against Bowling Green last week, where they only won by 6. They really won by 2 touchdowns, but you should be beating Bowling Green by a whole hell of a lot more than 2 touchdowns. I really like A&M in this spot. I think Arkansas probably, honestly, they're going to give Vanderbilt a run for the money for second or third worst team in the SEC. I really, really like A&M in this spot. I think Arkansas got a steal of a win in Auburn because both teams played so bad.
Love that.
And yeah, Arkansas was least bad.
And the final one we have here too, we have another SEC contest, Oklahoma-Auburn, with Oklahoma being 1.5-point favorites here. It's at Auburn.
Taking Oklahoma. I actually bet on this in my office pool. The reason for
Yeah,
it,
Oklahoma.
actually,
Auburn's
Oklahoma.
awful. That,
Yeah.
that
Going
starts
off of
a whole
Auburn
conversation. down the
losing
road.
to
What
Arkansas
is
by
Hugh
10, I believe
Freeze
it was
doing?
last week, the one that Coleman just said he spent so much time watching.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma, although they
Yeah,
played
first three quarters.
poorly the week before, I think Oklahoma. Say that again?
First three quarters.
Oh, first three quarters, excuse me. But Oklahoma, I think, will win by more than, what is it, 1.5 point dogs? Is that right? So, got
Oklahoma's, 1.5 point favorites.
1.5, dude. What? That's not enough. There needs to be Oklahoma all day. I mean, you can't. Hugh Freeze can't do what he did to both of his quarterbacks, and like I feel like the whole team's just going to end up quitting on him. Like if it's not this game, next game, or the game after that, like Hugh Freeze is finding himself. He's going to dig in. He's digging himself a deep hole.
Yeah, I think Oklahoma easy. I think if there's a lock of the week, I think it would be Oklahoma. Just looking at these lines, very very quickly there.
1.5 though.
As much
It's
shit as
crazy.
I just talked on Auburn, I'm gonna pick them.
Really?
I'm gonna zag. I think your first start going to Jordan Hare, 2:30 against an Auburn team that's not very good, but I think Hugh Freeze. I don't know. I think he's lighting a fire under their ass, or they're gonna lose by 49-0. I think it's one or the other. And I think this is some bullshit game that Hugh Freeze would win. This is some game that Auburn would win.
I agree.
They're going to lose to Auburn. They're going to lose, or not Auburn. They're going to lose to Arkansas. I'm sorry. They're going to lose to New Mexico State. They're going to lose to Cal, but they're going to beat Oklahoma. They're going to beat Bama. So give me Auburn and Hugh Freeze in this spot. I don't like it. I talked a lot of shit, but I think a 5-star quarterback and freshman going into the Plains.
I love that.
Not a good recipe for your first start.
And we do have a hard stop. We have 5 minutes left, guys. We're going to do a quick rapid fire round for 5 NFL games. Sound good?
Good.
We have Bills at Ravens. Ravens 2.5 point favorites.
Give me the Birds.
Birds.
Ravens.
What was it? You said
Bills at
Bills.
Ravens.
Oh, Bills. Bills are Bills.
Bank will be
Bills.
rocking.
I'm also going Bills here. Just because who would want to cheer for the Ravens?
Bank's going to be rocking Sunday night.
Another great matchup. Well, I don't know about a great matchup, but one I'll certainly be watching. Eagles at Bucks. The Eagles are 2.5 point favorites.
Buccaneers.
Coleman?
I'll take Philly again.
Philly? I am also going Philly here, even though I do love everything that Baker has been doing.
Yeah, except losing 26-7 to Denver.
Here's one I like. Cowboys Giants. They're in New York. Cowboys are 6 point favorites.
Cowboys.
Giants.
I'll ride with the boy.
I am also going with the Giants here. And a
Good.
funny tidbit, I think Giants fans have to be worried that Malik Neighbors might be so good that Daniel Jones starts doing better and better, and they end up sticking with him. We'll see.
Dude, 18 targets last week. 18 targets at wideout. Love what they're doing.
We have, what's another one we got here? Vikings, Packers, that's an interesting one. NFC North battle. I think we can assume Malik Willis will probably still be at the helm, but Packers are 2.5 point favorites, actually.
Go Pack Go.
I'll go Vikings.
Everybody's been down in Minnesota. Even Vegas is doubting them. Give me the Vikings.
I am also, sadly, as much as it pains me to pick against them, I am also picking the Vikings here.
Yep, because Malik Willis is a bum.
2-0 start. Hey, 2-0 starter in the NFL. 2-0
True.
in Green Bay. 2-0.
These other matchups, gosh, do we go with just a real ugly one?
Saints Falcons is interesting.
Saints Falcons, I like that. You got Saints at Falcons. Falcons 1.5 point favorites. Who do we got? That's a tough one.
I'll go Saints.
Same. Saints on my end.
I'm going to take Atlanta. Interdivision. It's always going to be close. I like the home teams in these games. Give me the Falcons.
I think it's in Atlanta. I'm going to go Saints. Derek Carr. Why bet against him? There's a very rapid fire round. Again, these are not suggestions, just for entertainment purposes only, and for us to keep score internally.
Not gambling advice.
Not gambling advice at all.
No.
But it'll be an interesting week of games. Is everybody really just focused in on that Bama Georgia game? Is there any other game that you're going to be really amped up about, or?
Yes, I'll be there. Boots on the ground. That's the only one I'll be.
Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Louisville, Notre Dame. 2:30 on Peacock. That's a good one.
We got 60 seconds before the hard stop, but I'm going to rock with Louisville on that one.
Illinois, Penn State. Another good game. There's some good games. Florida State at SMU. Future Pac-12 rivals. Washington State, Boise State. So there's some half decent games this weekend. But like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have some very interesting things coming in the pipeline as well that we'll be talking about soon.
Awesome.
Basketball season. It's almost here.
Yeah, Coleman's going to do maybe a 3-hour-long episode doing his preseason breakdown, and we're just going to sit here quietly.
NBA, college, we'll break them all down.
Yeah.
Real quick, really hoping McShay gets signed by the Ringer and he starts having his own football show. I'll talk more about that on Twitter. But we are out of time, unfortunately. We're on a little bit of a time squeeze here, guys. But thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. This will stop, and then it should all download here shortly.